Yeah, we're good.
Hi there. Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry we're a few minutes late. Adriane Haslet is in Boston, and neither she nor I are techies, so we're just getting our little Facebook Live thing together. Adriane will hopefully be with us in a minute. So I wanted to start by saying that clearly life is all about accepting, you know, momentous occasions and small, subtle happenings that we didn't expect. I think, you teach your children, don't you, that you've got a vision of how you want things to go, and you've always got to be ready for plan B. Sheryl Sandberg, in losing her husband 2 years ago, pretty young guy, in shape, on a treadmill, keels over and passed away right there. And so she's written a book called Option B. What do we all do? And I guess, it's not to compare people's tragedies and people's pain. What we really want to get to is how you all get over your heartaches, your even tragedies. So today we feature Adriane Haslet. Adriane was a young ballroom dancer. She wasn't even 30 yet. She, is from Boston, and the morning of the famous Boston Marathon 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago now, 2013, she was just watching the race in the morning from her apartment. She saw the elite men finish, which is right in the beginning at 2 hours, and she thought, you know what, I'm a Bostonian. I'm going to show some civic pride. I'm going to go down to the finish line and root everybody on. Well, if you go to war, if you decide you're going to be an astronaut, you do things that take tremendous life risk with them. Even if things happen suddenly, there was something in your being that knew a catastrophe could happen. But you're just a young woman going down to the finish of the Boston Marathon with your cappuccino in your hand. How would you possibly deal with something that sudden, that a bomb goes off, you look down, your foot is gone? How do you deal with that in a hurry? Something that sudden and something that freakishly unexpected, a terrorist act. So we're inviting Adriane to join us today because Adriane has become a friend of mine. I just dig her. She's got a wonderful sense of humor. I want to ask her all kinds of things that you guys will listen in on, and you'll come in with your own life comments and questions for Adriane if you have them. But I want to get to the bottom with her as to how she so quickly decided that she was going to focus on what she has, not what she's lost. So that's going to be the focus of our conversation today. I'm just looking to see if we have, I think Adriane is saying, well, hello. Let's see if we can bring her in. Again, I'm sorry. There she is. There's the
hello, Diana.
There's the good-looking, cheery, bright-eyed Adriane Haslet. Hi, darling.
Hello. It's so wonderful to see you. I had some technical difficulties, but thank you for your patience. I've been listening in, and thank you for your words. Hi, everyone. It's been fun reading your comments. Good morning,
good.
Kathy and Shelley.
I think that, I bet you the number one question, and you tell me if people ask you this all the time, and that is that I'm getting to know you, and I am only imagining that, how old were you when this all happened, when this came down 2013?
Yeah, let's see. Gosh, it was 2013. I was 33, 32. It was April, so I was 32 when it happened.
Okay, so you were 32. If I knew you, if your friends and family who knew you as a child, as a teenager, in your 20s, would you say that you had this personality that I'm coming to know? You have this extremely buoyant, positive personality. It shows on the dance floor. It shows in your eyes. Were you that person, or did some of that come after this tragedy hit and you just decided to rise up and be even more positive than you'd ever been? Which of those is it?
You know, that's a great question, and one that I get asked. I do get asked frequently, and my answer changes as time goes on in my new normal. You know, before I was like, I was always this person. I haven't changed at all. This thing's never going to change me. Obviously, that was early on, and we all know that's a total lie. But you know, I was raised with parents that encouraged my brothers and I to be expressive and stand up for ourselves and not look for handouts and not be not rely on, you know, certainly rely on friends and family to carry you through, as we all do. However, it is we were raised to be our triumphant selves. They said those words to us regularly, and so yes and no. I was that person, but I've let that person just run free. I feel like I have to remind myself of that, but I've let that person, that side of me, run free since this has all happened. And I'm only, you know, we spoke a little bit about this. I'm only, gosh, a little over 4.5 years old in this, and yet 37 years old at the same time.
So young and been through so much. You know, I often say that every human being on earth suffers. It's as much as we are lucky enough to know joy and, you know, exhilaration and privilege, those of us lucky enough to be of that half of the planet's 7 billion people who have some joy. And on the other hand, every single one of us knows suffering. In some degree, it's part of the human condition. It's like, do we ever meet someone who's 90 who says to us, you know what? Every single day was just a bowl of cherries. I never had any problem in my whole life. Of course not. Of course not. You know, so, and we all hope that, you know, those close to us don't suffer anything too bad. But
yeah,
there is a difference, I think, between something that's long standing, you know, you know, maybe you're facing poverty. Maybe you're facing a long series of not being able to get the kind of work you want to get. Well, there's no demeaning that kind of hardship. You've got to live it. You've got to find your pluck. You've got to find what you believe in life. But when you went through, and people who, in an absolutely stunning, unexpected moment, you weren't at war, you know, and I'm sure that someone who's hit in the middle of a grenade fight in war is not prepared also to lose a limb. But at least there's that general conceit underneath that something might happen. If, as I said before, with an astronaut, the astronauts I know, they expect to go up and come back down and be safe, but they know that they've signed up for something that's inherently, you know, potentially going to be life-threatening.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
didn't. You're just completely innocent person. So in the moment, how did your mind grapple with seeing your leg, with looking around and seeing? How did you deal with that moment?
Yeah, and I want to first say I was listening, and then I was also reading comments. So you said you looked down and saw your leg, and then I smiled. It was because one of my students said hello. So that was not because I had my leg blown off. Hi, Rich. I miss teaching you. But to answer your question, you're right, and there is, you know, I've just spoken with a lot of military and for a lot of military. I do a lot of public speaking, as you do as well, and you know, they say, you know, we go in knowing that there is high risk for roadside bombs. You were in a roadside bomb while this sunny day enjoying, you know, an incredible sport, and had no idea something like that was going to happen. And you get to be angry, you get to be mad. So yeah, when I looked down and I saw that, I thought, this is real. Like, this is what people felt at 9/11. That was one of the first things. I was like, because that was the only thing I could relate it to at the time. And I just felt, you know, very, I felt like I was going to die. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. I felt like I was going to die. I certainly had never obviously been through something like that before. And I thought, this is it. You know, obviously the dancing career is done. And that was very obvious to me at the time. And I thought, you know, people don't live through things like this. And I also thought another one was going to go off. That I was not on the first one, so I heard the first one. There was, gosh, I'm going to misquote, 4 seconds, 4 minutes in between. It felt like an hour. And I knew it was a terrorist attack. I looked back. I saw the smoke. I saw the horror. I saw things that nobody should see running with blood covered, you know, just the whole, what people saw in the news. And I thought, this is a terrorist attack. And then so when I looked down and saw that I had no left foot and a gash open on my right upper thigh, I thought, this is it. I'm done. Everybody around me is done. This is it. It was horrific. You can't absorb that much reality at the time. It's too much.
Yes, I can only imagine. And so from then on, it was sort of, you were just immersed in the absolute moment. You know, I'm sure, you know, people were rushing to help you, get you off to an ambulance. And so you were just conscious, or did you actually lose consciousness?
You know, I never lost consciousness. And for that, you know, you speak to anyone on any side, every single person out of the 260 plus that were injured will tell you they were grateful they lost conscious or grateful they didn't lose conscious. For me personally, I'm grateful that I didn't lose conscious. Are there things you can't unsee? Yes. Oh my goodness, yes. You know, I can close my eyes and picture everything. But at the same time, I know the series of events and the faces and the people and, you know, everything that happened. So people came running to my aid, and I was so grateful to them, and they started applying tourniquets that saved my life. I wouldn't be here. It was testified in court that that first tourniquet that was applied definitely saved my life. I wouldn't be sitting here with you, or we wouldn't have even formed this friendship had that first tourniquet not been applied. And there were, you know, first responders and firemen and policemen, but there were first responders and barbacks and waiters and waitresses as well.
So I guess, you know, there's so much to say about that day, and, you know, all the medical issues that came up over the next few hours and few days to you. And you clearly have made it through. I mean, you stand on stage beautiful with a prosthesis and do a very rhythmic jive. So you stood again. You've decided to stand and walk and run and dance and, you know, smile and do all that. Yeah, you're a tribute to a positive attitude and grabbing on what we have in life. But I'm curious if, you know, I'm going to sound, I don't know, insensitive in asking this, Adriane, because I know how I feel in the small things that have happened in my life. But
I'm an open book, you know.
What?
I'm an open book, as you know. So
okay. Well, you know, someone, for instance, has just written a book about how people who go through especially sudden tragedies like you do look back and somehow, in some words, feel maybe not grateful, but they honor what they've been through as to who they then became. I personally, you know, went through sexual abuse as a kid. I have never wanted to, you know, there's something as called forgiveness. There's something called understanding. I don't care. I don't want to go back and thank those two people who molested me, to say, if that hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't have become this fiery person, and I wouldn't have become this bold, I'm going to take care of myself and I'm going to march through life doing everything I want. I don't believe it. That's why I asked you at first, are you the same person that you were before this happened? Is it, as a matter of fact, who you were that helped you get through this in such a powerful, you know, energetic way, not did this make you this person. So you know, where do you stand on that? Because I personally don't want to go back and be grateful that I went
Right.
through that. I think I would have been the same person without that molestation. So where do you stand on that?
Yeah, and I thank you for sharing that, because I know you're helping others. I know I've heard you speak, touch on it in your speech, and I 100% am in the exact same thought process as you, and have been since the very beginning. I feel very passionate about the fact that, you know, I didn't have such a bad life. People have come to me, like you're saying, and said, you know, oh, you're so lucky. Look at all the people you can help. Well, you know, I have students that are here right now and visiting us and joining in our conversation, and I'm so grateful to them. But I was helping people before that in a different way. But just like you know, you have this, it's inside of you. It's part of who you are. So like I said, I let that person out and like not hold back and be more vibrant and more out there, but that was always inside me. So no, I don't want to say I'm so grateful I lost my leg, which I'm still working on the verbiage of that. It's like I misplaced my car keys or something. It's just weird. But anyway, side topic. But it's, you know, I would never say I'm so grateful I lost my leg. Am I grateful that it opened my eyes to, am I grateful that my eyes were opened to a world of amputees and those that need help? Yes. I'm grateful that I can help others, but I feel like if I were introduced to that world, I would want to do that anyway, because that's how I was raised, and that's what was inside of me, similar to what's inside of you. You have that drive. I don't want to go back and forgive. People ask me all the time, when are you going to forgive? When are you going to forgive? No, thank you. You know, would you ask, you know, if you lost someone and you knew someone who lost someone in 9/11 or in, you know, Sandy Hook or in something like that, would you say, oh, well, when are you going to forgive for losing a child? No, no, you're not going to do that. And I can't push my own values on other people, but that's where I stand. I could go on a soapbox about that all day. I would have done that anyway. In fact, I was in the trial and I was, you know, being cross-examined, and they said, you know, one of the things they could say is that you wouldn't have a speaking career or be where you are today if clearly you're benefiting from this. Now, this didn't happen in real life, but I was preparing myself for the worst. And I looked right at them and I said, you know what, if I wanted to become a professional speaker, I would have done it. I would have spoken probably about something else, but I would have done it. Like, there was a time in my life where I wasn't a ballroom dancer, and that's what I became. So I fully believe that I could have done that, just like you could, you know, you would have. You know, you didn't become a speaker because of what you went through, you know? And so, yeah, I believe if you want to do something, you're going to do it regardless of, you know, what.
That's right. And then there's a minor tangent of that, and that is just the plain talent. You know, public speaking takes a particular talent. It's different from acting. It's different from teaching. And you, when you get on stage, your TED Talk, and I've heard you elsewhere, and I just, you know, I thank you so much. We're just over the moon excited that you're going to talk to us the morning of the big Walk New England on September 10th, and to think that you'll be right there at that particular poignant place of your life. And then you're walking with us all the way up the coast. So, but I was going to say, everybody is so excited to get to know you and walk with you, me included. But I was going to say that, you know, so you have a particular story to tell now, but you are a storyteller. Regardless of that story, you've been telling other stories, you know, before that, and you'll tell others after that. There are a lot of people who go through things, good and bad things, and just don't have the talent to get up on stage and be animated and make an arc of a story. And you are that. You are all that, regardless of this particular circumstance.
Thank you.
We've got some people wanting to ask you questions or make comments. Gabby's here with us.
Hi.
Everybody knows Gabby. She's kind of our semi-fictional character who's off camera.
Yes,
So what do we got going on, Gabby?
I also just want to mention that our friends at Facebook have just shared this Facebook Live as an example of the new Facebook Live with to their audience. So thank you to our friends at Facebook.
Thank you, Facebook. Our buddies at Facebook, Adriane, are sharing this as a, it's a new beta test. This Facebook Live with. They're sharing it on their big Facebook platform right now.
Facebook.
Yeah. Good thing we look so good, huh?
Oh, right. Just gotta do a little.
This is how I do my hair in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to go. It's looking good again.
Yeah, the difference between ballroom dancing and running is just change the wardrobe entirely.
Okay, here we got a comment.
So we have a message from Rich Mejia, and he said about Adriane, she has always had a positive, wonderful attitude. On the first day I met her, she has been nothing but a pleasure to be around at the dance studio. She would be the first one to come out and greet everybody, whether you were her student or not, with a great big hug, big smile, just a wonderful young lady all around. Always has been, and she always will be.
Do you hear it? Can you hear all that, Adriane?
Yeah, I can. Thank you, Rich. He knew me back when we were working on a solo together when everything went down, and I'm sorry that is since gone unfinished, but that we both have talked about it since, and we know we'll finish it. Thank you for your words, Rich. Really appreciate
it. Fantastic. And I want to tell you, Adriane, you and I have talked a bit about Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
And I have been around athletes my whole life, clearly. That's my world. But never, when I saw, it's the men and the women, those men and women, the teachers, so that's your world, from Dancing with the Stars, I have never seen dedication and bodies that show that dedication like those men and women. I mean, I've seen the Olympians, I've seen them nude, they're just incredible, but never have I seen all of that discipline and that artistry show on a body like those men and women. And I love how completely unembarrassed they are. They'll come out in a hallway from the dance studio and need to get changed. Just take everything off. Just right down to the.
We're not shy. We're
down to the nude, and not showing off, nothing, and just throw on the next thing. And I thought, when I started to go get my coffee, Adriane, when I'd stand at the coffee place, I'd stand around and throw a little leg up in the back, like a little arabesque or something. I just love being around you dancers. Has that been part of your background and confidence in body in helping you transition to missing a body part and now being your dancer body again?
Great question. And yes, it is true. Dancers are not shy. We can do a quick change like that because we're not shy. We just get, we just take it off really quickly, put it right back on, and sometimes forget that maybe people are around. Sort of bad, but yes, it definitely helps with confidence. But it's also, the dance world, it's a wonderful world. I will always be in it. I am in it now, and I appreciate it and love it so greatly. And it is an athletic sport. As you say, I'm so glad you say it that way, because we think it's really cute that football players and such get off seasons and have backup. We think that's really cute. Brady, if you're listening. But we do it year round, and we're the only ones that know our choreography. So it's a great world, but it can also breed a little bit of competition, the friendly competition that we all know in athletics. As well as competition that's maybe not so friendly, because it does revolve so much around body image and standing out there in a bikini that's fringed in front of so many, deciding exactly how your body moved in a way that's a little bit different than other sports. Similar, but a little bit different. And so, yeah, it has helped with my confidence. But I'll tell you, when I was really confident about my legs and missing a body part, I felt like I wasn't a woman. I felt like, not only did I feel like possibly I wouldn't dance again, because I definitely had days like that. People would never believe me if I said I didn't, obviously. But I felt like I wasn't a woman. I felt like I would never wear shorts again. I felt like I would never wear one of those fringed bikinis again, or a ball gown. Maybe I would only do standard, because that's the long dresses, as you know, from being a dancer yourself. And it was very difficult for me to even look at it myself. I put blankets over it in the hospital. I didn't want people to see it. And when I did show it, it was usually because I was not in my right mind. I was obviously heavily medicated to deal with the pain. So it was very difficult for me. It took a long time to get out there, and I had to force myself at first. And then I thought, I'm talking about this a lot as a public speaker. I should probably embrace it myself. And it took like 4 or 5 months before I would just walk around town, or humble, I wasn't even on a prosthetic, but be in my wheelchair around town without a blanket over me. It was tough.
And now? And now you're 4.5 years back. How, confident, and how much do you kind of forget about it?
I still have mornings where it's so heartbreaking. I still have mornings where, in that sleepy, almost awake state that we all have, where I will move my legs under the sheets and I will brush my foot because I have a phantom feeling. I'm very thankful I don't have phantom pain anymore, knock on wood. But I will brush my foot to itch my left foot that isn't there, and it's not there. It's just gone. And then I'll have this sinking feeling and everything comes flooding back, and I'll either be able to snap right out of it, or I will lay there and cry and sob. And it depends on mood, on how much sleep I had the night before, just similar to anybody's bad days. So I do forget sometimes, but now my confidence is up. I think, I want others to be able to see confident amputees, because that's what I wanted to see when I was going through what I was going through. And so I do that, not in a fake way, but I want to work on myself and go to therapy and get the confidence, up there so that I can be that for others.
Adriane, too, I'm curious, not just with the public speaking and the people you meet more in masses like that, but, just someone you might meet walking around the town of Boston. Like a 32-year-old woman came up to me at a speech sometime during this last year, and she was upset. She had tears welled up in her eyes, and she said, I lost my husband this year. It was too early. We expected to go into old age together.
Yeah.
It was sudden, it was cancer, and now I've got the 3 kids. This isn't the story that I bought into. How am I gonna cope? How am I gonna get through this? And I guess, I think there's something to the inspiration. Like, you don't have to have lost a leg like you did for someone else to see you. So let's say from across the street in Boston, I see Adriane Haslet. I see you bouncing down the street with your dog, Fred Astaire. I see you chatting with people. You look like you've got the joy of life about you. Well, I don't have to have lost my leg, but I could have lost my mate. I could have lost my job. I could have, lots of things that would be, but I can see you and say, she is somehow doing without, and she's doing it well. And yes, right now I'm feeling loss, but I can somehow make it because I'm watching that person who's coping with doing without. Is there a direct correlation with people who aren't just amputees? They've lost something.
Yes, I believe there is. As we all know, everyone goes through something in their life. Job loss, bad day, overslept alarm, anything. If it's a bad day, it's a bad day. There just isn't comparison. So yes, there's a direct correlation. And I've had those moments still and before. And where I think, gosh, I'm having such a rough day. Oh, but if that person's getting through it, I can get through it. And so, yes, there's a direct correlation. And I think that we can all inspire each other. I've had very similar situations to what you had with the young mother that was, lost her husband at such a young age. I've had people come up to me after speeches, or even, as you said, on the sidewalk and say, how are you doing this? Like, how are you down here? For those, a lot of people don't know where I live. I guess that's a good thing. I'll just say, near the finish line. I live near the last turn to the Boston Marathon by choice. And only have for about a year and a half. And people say to me, how do you live down here? Like, why would you do that to yourself? And the answer is, you know, I want to stand in the face of it and look it in the eye and be embracing the new normal. And when people say, you know, I could never, and I think, you know, you haven't, if you haven't been through something yet, then let me tell you, you have. First of all, you've been through something, you've had a bad day, and I want you to think about that and know that you got through that. And one of my favorite quotes, because I'm a quote nerd, you know this, is think of all the days you thought you couldn't get through. Your record for getting through those hard days is 100% so far. So that's a pretty good record, right? So I think there is a direct correlation. I digress, but I think there is a direct correlation in the sense that people, when we collectively think of ourselves as humans, right? Not male, female, or religion, or political, or any of that stuff, right? We just think of ourselves as humans, and we think we don't want other people to struggle, and we want others to feel like they're not alone. I would like to think that people think that. My sweatshirt thinks that. It says kindness is hot if you can't, or kindness is really hot if you can't read it. We collectively don't want people to hurt, and I certainly don't. I know you don't. So I think that when I see someone else going through something and still looking at the bright side, I think, yeah, life, yeah, celebrate it. Like, that's awesome. So if I can be that for somebody else, that's a win. That's
yeah, it's a win. And I guess it's, you know, we learn through life too, never to compare. Like, if my pain is not as much as someone who survived the Holocaust, who had friends who went to gas chambers in the Holocaust, well, you know, how can I ever live my own life if I'm always comparing myself to those who suffer more? Someone in the Sudan who doesn't even have a quarter of a cup of water to drink a day. So, you know, on the one hand, we want to shape up and say, hey, just look at what goes on around you. You are lucky. You know, I didn't go through what Adriane did at the end of the Boston Marathon. And on the other hand, all of us out there, you can only live your own life. And if you are, you know, suffering pain or hardship, you know, let's pluck from the people who have suffered more than us, like you, and pluck from their stories. Everybody has a life story. Everybody has an inspirational way they navigate, you know, their hardships. So I think that's where you come in. Your navigation has been magnificent, and we witness it, and we're you know, we're sort of plucking from you what we need for our own life stuff. Gabby's got another question or comment.
Oh, yeah, I have a question from
Fred's bumping.
Garrett from Facebook who wants
Fred's
to know.
bumping the phone.
Wait, hold on. Garrett from Facebook has a question.
Okay.
Good. He wants to know how the two of you met.
Oh.
What event were we at, Adriane? We met at some event.
Yeah, Fred is bumping the table, so I'm just going to hold the phone like this. Excuse me. We met at the Plane Tree Conference, which Plane Tree is, I had to look this up before we got on too, because I thought someone might ask that same question. So we met at the Plane Tree Conference, which is a conference that enables patients to, enables them to go into hospitals and help patients and doctors and surgeons and nurses work in a more efficient way with each other in a teamwork setting, as opposed to a setting that is very, where a patient, I guess in a short version, is where a patient has to tell the same story 500 times to each person that walks in the door. So very good organization.
I remember, I remember. It's great. And now our good buddy Dave McGillivray, who's just a maverick beyond. We can't even get started on Dave's bio. Just trust us. Look him up. He's a hero in Boston, and he's actually a hero in all of the running world. But Dave is a mutual friend of Adriane and mine, and we got invited to running something called the Celebrity Mile a couple of weeks ago. So that's where I got to see Adriane again. And so we're getting to be better friends. And now Adriane has offered her smile and her strong legs to walk up all the way from Boston to Cape Elizabeth, Maine with us. You know, I want to ask you, I know this is awfully, to use a poor pun, pedestrian, but I think people are curious literally about prostheses. Like,
Yeah.
you know, first of all, you at first, if you don't mind telling us the hardcore physical facts, I'm interested. You at first, the accident was a bombing and you lost your foot, but your amputation had to go higher. How are the prostheses? And do you wear different ones for walking around, for going out at night, for running and walking? What's the physical thing?
Great question. Sorry for the bumpy camera. I'm trying to reset as Fred is bumping the table, but he's gone, so we're okay.
Fred, you have to drag him up on camera. I'm going to get Teddy in a minute too.
I will, certainly.
Okay.
So my prostheses that I wear that is for a day-to-day prostheses in what I use for walking, what I use to train for Everwalk, and what I use to dance in is my regular prostheses. I'm wearing shorts right now, but I'm a flexible dancer. It looks a lot like this.
Okay.
It looks like skin. You can see there's a little bit of a fold there. And you see looks like a knee brace, I would call it. A lot of people ask me when I'm walking around, oh, I'm so sorry you hurt your knee, which is fine. It's the understandable thought process. That is the leg that I wear all the time. So I am very fortunate to be able to do everything I want to do in that leg, except for running. So for running, you'll see a lot of athletes, well, any runners that are amputees, run in what we call a blade, which is that arch.
Yeah.
And what the arch does is when you're at stride as a runner, it compresses like a shock absorber, right? So it compresses, and as it compresses, it aligns your hips. So when you're standing straight up, you'll notice that a lot of runners will have one leg that is longer than the other. And there's a reason for that. It's because when it compresses, your hips are even. So they're not good to walk in. You can walk to the start of a run or, to coffee after and then sit down and such. But and you don't want to walk in it too long. So you want to hit that stride, and as you hit that stride, and that is determined by your prosthetist. Another word I had to learn how to use after everything went down. Obviously, if you say it wrong, it sounds like prostitute. So your prosthetist studies your stride, and as you get faster, you adjust, and it's adjusted to your height to make sure that when you hit that full stride, there's just a whole science behind it. It's very fascinating. I've always said, I'm pretty busy now, but I'm not counting out going back to school to become a prosthetist, and maybe not as a full-time gig, but just to learn so much about it. There's so much to learn. I feel like
there's so much to learn.
I can question my prosthetist still to this day and not know everything,
Yeah, and I find one of the more absolutely riveting aspects of the world of sports today is in the prosthetics world, there are actually able-bodied athletes, who haven't lost a limb, who are very worried about and ready to complain about people with prosthetics being able to run faster than they can. So far we've sort of divided, especially at the Olympic level, the disabled and able-bodied athletes. But there are days, and Oscar was one of them, where that very talented athlete who has lost a limb or two, will run with able-bodied athletes, and eventually, maybe we're there already, I don't know, that those cheetah legs are going to make someone faster than any regular two legs could be. And I just find that we all know that that's insane, that as an able-bodied athlete, you would say, hey, you're cheating. You don't have legs. And you're using those cheetah legs. But we're actually pretty close onto that subject right now, aren't we?
We are pretty close to that subject. And I have, I won't name names, but I have had a couple of people say at a start line of a race, none of Dave's races or anything, but at a different race, it was actually in a different country, say, oh, you are definitely going to go faster because you have that. And I, you know, that little stubbornness in me that if you know me, you know, or if you've read any of my Instagram posts and you think that I don't like to lash out at people or, you know, give hate for hate or whatever, you know, they don't know. But a little part of me wanted to be like, do you like to trade? Because like, I don't, this is my choice. And it's tough for me, and I have to raise my left leg 2.5 inches higher with every single stride because it's longer. And when I get muscle fatigue and it is longer, and when I get muscle fatigue and it drags, I fall flat on my face. So when I was learning how to run, I had a full mask with a visor on so that I wouldn't break my nose and all these. But yes, we are getting to the point where people are questioning, and I don't know the latest in technology. I try not to use the latest technology in prosthetics until everyone's covered in basic prosthetics. I just don't think that's it's a human right to have a prosthetic, and I don't do it. But so I'm not as knowledgeable in the latest and greatest technology of the blades. However, I do. I do know that a lot of people are being questioned, especially in professional track and running sports.
Yeah. But you know, whether you say it out loud or not, it's clear that your emotional response is the right one. Someone says or looks at you like, "Oh, really? You're going to go faster than me with that cool leg of yours?" And you say, "I tell you what, you give me your 2 good legs, and I'll give you my missing limb and prosthetic. How would you like that? How would you like it?"
How would you like that? Yeah. I love it when someone says, I can't dance, I have 2 left feet. And I say, if you give me one of them, then we're even and we can all dance. But
there you go. Here, hold on. We got a couple more questions and we'll let you go. I know you've given us a lot of time.
I could talk to you forever.
A nice comment to wrap up is from Mary Lou Brancato Robertson. She said, I truly believe that it is in the sharing that we grow, heal, and learn. Most of us are living with our stories. They need to be shared.
Could you hear that, Adriane?
I did.
Lovely.
I'm reading it there too. And thank you, Mary Lou. I believe all stories need to be shared, and I'm looking forward to Everwalk to being able to do this, and hopefully more Facebook Lives with all of this, and we can encourage others to share stories. It's in that we all grow.
Sounds good. Where can we want to let people know today where to tune in to you, your current stories, your future books? You know, what have you got going on?
I'm working on a book.
Nice.
I'm working on a book. So
what are you going to call it?
If I have my way and the publisher doesn't try and name it, I want to name it "This Is Why I'm Strong." There's a big, long story. Actually, I haven't had the opportunity. It's a long one. We have a lot of time walking ahead of us about what happened and what my real true thought was when I opened my eyes on the sidewalk. I was never unconscious, but there was a time in my early life. There's somebody here that wants to say hi before we leave. There's a time in my early life that really defined how I chose to survive, which could also be a title. But,
I like it. Well, I tell you, with you, anything, given Boston and given you, anything with the word strong is going to make it. Adriane Strong, that's what I'm going to call you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That was a hashtag that came around when that first year. But people can find me at adrianehaslet.com. I'm starting a blog there, and I'm having guest bloggers. Obviously, I'd love to have you on there. We'll do a lot with Everwalk, and also some prosthetists, some people from Congress about Medicaid changes and coverage, as well as patient care. and some other things on this little guy right here. This is.
Let me see. Let me see. Okay, everybody. That's Fred Astaire. Teddy, Teddy, come here. Teddy.
Teddy, where are you?
He's very aloof sometimes, but Fred Astaire is cute. Oh, here comes Teddy. Hold on. Come here.
Okay, no, finally meet you guys.
Try to lift him
It's been
up.
a long time coming. We've been talking about this. Oh goodness, Fred.
Here he comes.
Boy.
Can you see him?
Yes, I can. Oh, he's adorable.
He's way cute. Teddy, that's Fred Astaire.
Look, Fred, that's Teddy. And your Auntie
Teddy.
Look.
Teddy just turned 12. I know Fred Astaire is very young, right?
Yeah, he is. He's about a year and a half. He's a St. Patrick's baby.
He's adorable. Adriane, you are a force. You're a force of light and positive energy, and I'm just thrilled. We're going to do some more Facebook Lives on our walk up to Maine, okay?
Yes, let's do it. Absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'm just so thankful for you and our friendship, and for you being a force, and for us connecting is such a gift. And I appreciate all that you do to inspire me on a daily basis. We all need to inspire each other. Like Mary Lou was saying, you know, this is about sharing.
It is. And, you know, if people, I'm sure they ask you too. I think if you're something of a public figure, people like to ask you, who inspires you? Well, I have a long list. You know, I'm 68 years old now, Adriane. You better remember, I'm your elder. I deserve your respect. And
you have it.
Lots of people inspire me, but I tell you, Adriane Strong Haslet inspires me big time.
Love you.
All right,
Thank
love
you.
you too.
Inspire me.
And everybody, if you're not on to the Everwalk, you know, epic. We're walking from Boston up to Cape Elizabeth, Maine. 132 miles in 7 days. You can walk part. You can do 5 miles, 10 miles if you don't have time for the whole thing. But get to everwalk.com. You can even walk virtually. You can be in Oregon and walk with us. So check us out. Adriane, thanks for your time today. Love you, honey.
Thank you for your time. Love you right back. Mwah. Can't wait for the next one.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.